Hey, what is up, you guys? Welcome to another Shartimus Prime live stream. Today we have a very special interview, a very interesting Kickstarter that has been on my peripheral since I saw prototypes, not this year, but last year. This project has been in development for quite some time, and I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with Beasts of the Mesozoic. We have the Creative Beast Studios creator, Dave Silva, with us, and we're going to talk about the Cyberzoic Kickstarter. And we have him in the waiting room right now. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Mr. Dave Silva, how are you doing today, David?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I've been having a great time, and I love what you've done in the past. I actually brought some dinos with me for the stream to talk about them a little bit, and just have to say congratulations on all the success of your past Kickstarters. I really admire what you've done. Even before you had your own company, I've been a big fan of your work. You're incredibly talented
Thank
sculptor and artist, and I'm very happy to just see all that success going your way because
you.
you're
Appreciate it.
incredibly talented, really nice guy. So I'm really happy to see it. And you have your new Kickstarter, Cyberzoic. And for those who may not be familiar with you, uh, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background and the birth of Creative Beast Studios and how that all came about?
Cool. So I started working in the toy industry back in 2003 as a designer for McFarlane Toys. And some of the early stuff that I worked on was the McFarlane Dragons line. I worked on that quite a bit. And eventually I moved on to Hasbro and did some stuff for Jurassic Park and Star Wars and a few other things. And then in 2010, I landed at NECA and I stayed there until 2021 and worked on a ton of stuff there. And while I was there, I sort of inadvertently started my own toy company through a Kickstarter situation. So yeah, there was this idea that I had to do uh, realistic dinosaur toys, both at McFarlane and at Hasbro, and then it came up again at NECA, and basically there were reasons that we couldn't do it in each instance. So I decided, well, I was in touch with the Horsemen, I was in touch with Boss Fight, and I saw what they were doing on Kickstarter. I was like, well, why don't I just give it a shot, see what people think of it?
Mhm.
So I started with the Raptors, and that did well, and I just kept going from there. And now I'm at the point where I can attempt an original IP uh, using the dinosaurs as a platform. So that's where we are now. So yeah.
Nice. So yeah, you had the Raptors the first time around. I don't have my Raptors with me. I only grabbed a couple, but then after that, you had the Ceratopsian series right here.
Yeah.
I love this, by the way. These are fantastic. These are the most accurate dinosaurs that you could pick up in the market. Like just like the shape of the skull right over there.
Hmm.
Most of the time, this gets flattened. I feel like a lot of the time when we see this, like the whole front part of the Triceratops ends up getting kind of smushed in a little bit, kind of cartoony looking. But this is a lot more accurate looking from what I've seen. I love dinosaurs. I'm not a paleontologist, but I try to learn as much as I can about them. And
Yeah.
um,
Same.
Joey B did help me get some questions together,
Cool.
and he works in the industry, and he loves dinos so much to the point he says Beasts of the Mesozoic equals best toy line of all time.
Wow.
Right
That's
on.
that's high
Great.
praise. Yeah. As you can
Right.
see, I collect a lot of toy lines, so that's nice to hear.
And then yeah, no, that's fantastic, man. And then we also have the Tyrannosaur wave that
Nice.
came out not too long ago. This is like the most recent one. It feels like this just happened. Like
Yeah, I
we
know. It feels like that for me too.
yeah. And these are fantastic too. Again, the most accurate depictions of these animals that you can get.
Hmm.
Proportions look great.
Yeah,
And
we put a lot of effort into trying to get them to look accurate to the current findings, and we work with a lot of people that know more about dinosaurs than I do, and I'm always going to them to ask, how do we do this? And even like as far as part sharing, like, can we share parts with this without compromising the overall look? And so there's a lot of effort that goes into making everything look like the real animal, and I think that distinguishes what we're doing from a lot of the other stuff that's out there.
Yeah, and all and the details in here, it's like it feel like it makes me think like that would be the real skin. You know what I mean? Like it's just so lifelike. It looks fantastic. Feels fantastic. I love the patterns. One we'll get into the details of Cyberzoic in a minute, but excuse me, but what kind of inspires the skin layout? Like not just the sculpt of the skin of these dinosaurs, but also the paint schemes.
The skin, it kind of depends on the sculptor. Like we all kind of have a little bit of our own style, but basically we try to just make the scales as small as we can in most cases. In some instances, there are examples of the scale patterns in the
Right.
fossils, so we do try to include that information whenever possible.
Mm.
And as far as the colors go, I always look to nature, try to find things in nature that might have had a similar habitat, back then compared to now or whatever. But a lot of them, a lot of the colors are based on like modern day birds or modern day lizards and things like that. And every once in a while we'll do something that's based on pop culture, like the one you have in your hand is inspired by Walking with Dinosaurs from the early 2000s, I believe.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, it's not a direct translation of that design, but it's inspired by it. So I take a few liberties and kind of bring it to the Beast of Mesozoic universe by changing up the design a little bit. I've done it with a few other things too, but yeah, we have a lot of fun with the color designs. I just love designing the colors for these things. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, I have a Styracosaurus over here that has a really cool, interesting pattern to it. That I
Yeah,
think
that's a popular one. Actually, bring that back. Yeah.
that looks really badass. I mean, we don't really know all the pigments of these different dinos. Some of them they do,
Yeah,
but
very few, very few. Yeah, but that's part of the fun because it's part realistic based on evidence, and then the other part we just have to kind of interpret on our own, and that's where the artistic license comes in, and that's why you have paleo artists that have all these diverging styles and different ideas of what they might have looked like. So there's really nothing else like paleo art because of that, because it has both elements of fantasy illustration and scientific illustration.
Right, like with dragons, like it's just a toss up. It could be anything, right? But this is these are based off of living real creatures that listened. That one thing that trips me out is like I went on a walk last night, or it was actually a scooter ride. I got a super scooter and I've been scooting around, so I should be walking, but the scooter's so fun. But I was listening to I was listening to the ocean and just tripping off of like, damn, the dinosaurs were listening to that same sound.
Yeah.
It's the same sound that they listened to. Like there's no difference in the ocean. Like you can go way, way back and it's going to be the same sound.
Yeah.
We have a super chat over here from Joey B, and he says the Bista Herosaur figure is the single best action figure I own. No joke. I was mind blown when I opened it. Can I do you have that there, or should I try to find a picture of it and pull that up?
I can go grab it real quick if you want to see it.
Sure. Yeah. If you have it close by, that would be great. Because I can't remember exactly which dinosaur that is. I'm also gonna pull up my questions right here that I have Joey help me with. But yeah, let's go ahead and see if I can get the screen a little bit bigger on. Oh, nope, not that way.
Other way.
The other one to.
Yeah, so that's this guy. This one came out just a few months ago.
There we go.
I don't know.
Oh, that looks great.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh,
Yeah.
I really like that color scheme too.
Yeah, it's based on a red-bellied snake, which is mostly black with red on the underside. but to me, after it was done, it kind of reminded me of the A-Team van, which isn't really the intention, but it makes it cooler. So,
Wow.
but yeah, it is one of my favorites of the line too, and it might be even more popular if the name was easier to say. I think.
Right, right, yeah, because so that looks like a Tyrannosaur that probably what T-Rex was like the last one, right? So that's older than the T-Rex. That's a precursor to the T-Rex, right?
This is yeah, probably existed a little before, I believe, but
Mhm.
yeah, they're closely related for sure.
Nice, yeah, that looks awesome. So to a little bit of let's talk about your Kickstarter, and let's see, pull it up right over here and tell us a little bit. Oh, that's the wrong. That's not. Oh, here it is. Oh,
Yep,
it's the right thing, but
yep, yep.
I had a different window ready that was right here. But yeah, so you've gone beyond your initial goal over here. You have 961 backers. Nice, and 14 days to go. Everything's looking really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I backed the project yesterday. I've been meaning to do it, but I was like, I have to, actually back it before I have you on, man. And I went, and it was a tough call. I had to pick one.
Mm-hmm.
And right here, this is, I think, a new addition, right? You have a Smilodon right here with accurate anatomy, with the whole Cyberzoic tech on top of it. Can you tell us a little bit about the Smilodon and what we're looking at over here?
So I've been wanting to get into the prehistoric mammals for some time now, and I felt like Smilodon was the most popular of the prehistoric mammals. And we have some other things planned as well, but since Cyberzoic kind of spans across all of the eras, I wanted a good mix to lead off with. So we have our dinosaur, we have our mammal, and then we have our dragon. And this was like the main representation of the mammals. So, and it's one that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So yeah, it's cool to include it. And I've also kind of had issue with some of the feline type action figures. Like, and I'm a huge He-Man fan, so I have a lot of Battle Cats. But
I was
I,
gonna say that green color scheme right there, it's kind of ringing a bell.
yeah, you, you never know what might pop up later for that.
Ooh, nice.
But yeah, a lot of people have been asking for Battle Cat repaint. I'm like, well, maybe we'll get there at some point. There's tons of ideas I have for like variations, but um, I wanted to lead off with something that looked more natural because Cyberzoic is meant to kind of connect us to this story. This exists on our own timeline. We are part of this universe. So I by having these animals that look like the animals that we know, it kind of I feel like it brings us into the story more. But yeah, this is one I've been really excited to do for some time. And Jun Hong is the sculptor who also had his own Kickstarters for animal anatomy statues. And he's like a master of animal anatomy. So I was in touch with him to do the sculpt for it because I knew that there's nobody I could get to be better than that. So
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
it's pretty exciting.
This looks awesome, and the artwork and everything. And I mean, um, I tend to forget. You have the same legendary artist working on all these. I can't remember the artist's name that you had on there before that had actually done some old school dino artwork, right, or paleo
Oh no,
art.
this is not that. I think you're thinking of Ezra Tucker, who did the
That's right. Yeah.
Giant Rider stuff. Now this is Rafe Lomatan. He's been working with me for some time now. He's also done some Beast Mesozoic art, and
Okay.
he's very versatile. He can do realistic prehistoric creatures. He can do people. He can do tech. He can do dragons. So he's the perfect fit for this, and he's been doing an amazing job with a lot of the concept art. I recently posted an update that featured a lot of the art that he did,
Mm.
along with a lot of the lore that I've been writing in the background to kind of explain the different clans and everything. But his art has really been essential to developing this world and showing it to everybody. And I'm just really happy with what he's been doing.
Nice. Yeah. No, it looks fantastic. I really like it a lot. And then you have the product right over here. Now, and then you have 3 3/4 inch figures,
Mhm.
right? This is part of a bundle. It looks like right here, right? So you could pick up. This is like a reward set right here where you can get Smilodon, and then the armor kit and the rider all together right there for $100. Save
Mhm.
yourself some money getting the bundle. That's pretty sweet. And then, the first tier you had right here is the Allosaurus unit with Argentius,
Yep.
which looks awesome. This looks like the pretty much like the mascot of the Kickstarter.
Right. Yeah. 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 This if Dino Riders had a T-Rex, we have an Allosaurus.
There
so
you go.
so
Right on.
yeah.
Now, with these parts, and I love, oh man, when you first told me about this, I'm sure you remember when you first told me about this at PowerCon last year, I geeked the hell out over the fact that the armor transforms. So,
Yeah.
like, I think that is so freaking cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because, man, yeah, that I think that is freaking genius. Look at that. It could be the armor, or it could be its own little ship right there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really happy with how well that turned out. The idea originated from basically my fan base was concerned that they would have to buy the armor with the dinosaur, because a lot of people they just want the Allosaurus for their collection because they've been collecting the beast of Mesozoic. They want an Allosaurus to include. It's a very popular dinosaur, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was taking all this into consideration because initially I had thought, well, why don't we just pack these like Dino Riders and have the armor included with the rider, and like it'll be a whole set. But because I built my foundation on the natural history audience, basically, it sort of excludes them a bit if I'm kind of trying to get them to buy all the extra stuff when they really don't want it. So I
Right.
was thinking, well, how do we sell the armor on its own? Well, we add value by making it into a vehicle. So that's where the idea came from. And then as we kept going, uh, that same idea kind of transferred over into Fire Clans. Like, oh well, how do we make these different? So the Fire Clan armors turn into animals, and the Tech Clan turns into vehicles, and it kind of distinguishes them according to their own like culture and values.
Wow. That is sick. I really love that. That is awesome. And then you have the dragon right over here, the Arctic dragon.
Yeah,
Oh my god, that looks like just a stellar art piece just all on its own, man. That
yeah.
is just, I mean, whew, that is phenomenal.
Thanks. Yeah. I've been kind of kicking that around for a while. I originally did a model kit for it a while back, and then we recently developed it into a fully articulated action figure for this. And yeah, I think it turned out really well. I think like this paint job is even better than the one that I had on my original version. So yeah, it's really cool, and it's also meant to look like it goes with all the other animals, even though it's made up. So
Right.
that's things that we're doing with the dragons is we want them to look like they fit into the natural history idea instead of kind of going with the usual fantasy based type dragons that we usually see.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of crazy. I recently learned that there were some ancient I don't think they were they're dinosaurs that had leathery wings
Hmm.
instead of feathers. So I I kind of wonder if like the whole inspiration of of dragons originally came from our ancestors finding those fossils and maybe kind of putting it together that these things were alive but nobody ever saw them.
Yeah. I think that's the assumption is why there's so many different cultures around the world that have their own versions of dragons. They were probably finding different types of dinosaur bones and just kind of, deciding that it was, some sort of fantasy creature because they didn't have paleontology yet. So, that's I haven't looked into it that closely, but I think I've read something about that.
Ooh, Laser Pants has an excellent question right here. Who would win in a fight? Two street humans or one armored up Smilodon? Oh man, that's gonna be a tough one because that Smilodon has two barrels, right? And we got
Yeah,
two street humans over here, so yeah, that's going to be a tough one. But hey, I'm going to be able to make that happen. We'll see how that display looks. That would be a lot of fun.
yeah,
Um,
be a good fight.
yeah. I've been having a lot of fun with these street humans, man. The reception for the more creative side of it has been really positive,
Oh yeah,
and I've just been kind of blown away that people have been really clinging on to my alien head designs, and it just really makes me happy. That's like the most creative part of it for me personally. So seeing that kind of reaction, getting a little taste of what you get like all the time. And
yeah,
then
it's cool.
one thing that I wanted to ask was, and this is Joey's question, is that you have mostly carnivores for
Hmm.
your dinos in this wave. Have
Yeah.
you thought like what made you decide to stick with carnivores? And I definitely remember there being some large herbivores
Hmm.
when it came to the oh god damn it, how do the dino riders back in the day? So I'm kind of curious, do you have any plans for cyberzoic herbivores, especially some larger ones?
Yeah. We were going to try to include a few into this Kickstarter, and at some point I had to step back from it and just see, how big it was getting. And like if you really compare this to what we've been doing, it is like three times what we normally do because we have the armor and we have the character that goes with each figure. So it's a lot to commit to. And I wanted to also do a Stegosaurus, and there was a Pachycephalosaurus that was also sculpted,
Mhm.
and we've even had another mammal plan, Andrew Sarkis, and like all these things have designs, and they were ready to be sculpted as far as the armors and the characters and everything, uh, but it just felt like too much. And there was even another dragon planned. Uh,
Wow.
so this world is like it's easy to go too far all at once, and we're trying to like get it down to the very core of like what would be a good introduction. um, I didn't mean to exclude the herbivores, but it just kind of worked out better that way as far as like what was getting the biggest responses. Like, like the Allosaurus has been in demand for a long time. People have been asking about it forever. The Deinonychus, people have been asking about it. Um,
That's the one I
there's
want. That
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a highly sought after one, and it's good because it's basically our cheapest product too. I mean, you can get it for $30. Um, there's also I wanted to kind of cross over with the Beast of Mesozoic, so I brought in two of those. I brought in the Dryptosaurus and the Utyrannus in brand new colors, and we're updating some of the articulation, and they have like new armor. So if you get armor for one, then it'll transfer over to the Beast of Mesozoic armor. I mean the Beast of Mesozoic figure as well. So it just happened that the best formula for a launch was the carnivores. It just kind of worked out that way. Plus, we have the big raptors too. We have the Kilovator and the Utah Raptor. Both people seem to be very excited about. So I think for Cyberzoic too, we will see a lot more herbivores. I do like I said, the Stegosaurus will be in it for sure. Pachycephalosaurus will definitely be in it, and then we're looking at a few others as well. There's even a lot of people are asking for sauropods, which
yeah.
might take a little bit longer to get to, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I think you'll also see uh, an updated Triceratops in the next one as well.
Ooh,
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot we can do.
nice. Yeah, that's and one thing that I it's kind of just interesting hearing you talk about kind of limiting the amount of product you could put out there at one time, because that's like one thing that I've learned through my personal experience is that like there's everything that you want to do, but then you got to play the like there's shelf space almost like you're playing with almost, you have a limited amount of stuff you can put out there. There is such a thing as overwhelming your customers, you
Absolutely.
know, confusing them maybe, and if you put too much out there at once, then you could turn people away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to be strategic in what you're choosing and everything. So I think that's great. So will the armor? So will the and if you already just said this because I didn't really 100% catch it. So if you have the Allosaurus armor, that would apply to the T-Rex also. Like if I have like this pre-existing T-Rex from the Tyrannosaurus wave.
No, they have to be the same size. So the Allosaurus is somewhere in between that T-Rex that you have and the bigger T-Rex. So the armor might work with the larger Tyrannosaurs that are about to come out at the end of the year.
Okay.
So that I've tried it out a little bit. It seems like the helmet may not work because their heads are bigger, but the bodies seem to be a similar size. So like things like that, people might be able to play around with and kind of they might have to do some light customizing to get some of them to work. But but I also think there will be other opportunities to use the armor for other species as well. Like we are going to do an additional Allosaurus later for Beast of Mesozoic that has a different head and neck. And that armor will also be able to fit onto that figure as well.
Sweet. Okay, so there'll be more compatibility as you move forward.
Exactly.
Nice. Nice. And then we have day top. I can't even pronounce it. Day top.
That's the Dryptosaurus.
Oh, Dryptosaurus. I'm reading that as an A. It's an R. Dryptosaurus.
Yeah, that's fine.
That one looks awesome.
So this is one that was originally done for Beast of Mesozoic, and we're updating it for this. This was, interestingly enough, this was our very first Cyberzoic design.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it ended up having the non-transforming, more primitive armor because we didn't have that idea yet. So we kind of worked it into part of the story that had to do with the gladiators, and it fit perfectly with that sort of thing. Like we had like the gladiator combat type stuff. So,
gotcha. Nice. Yeah, like that big old horn right over there. Mm-hmm. So the Deinonychus which is actually my favorite dinosaur. I know this is your cheapest offering, but I had to swoop up on this one because I had an encyclopedia when I was a kid that had like pretty much every dinosaur in there. And I remember like when I came across Deinonychus, I thought it was like the freaking coolest animal I'd ever seen in my life. So when Jurassic Park, in 93 when Jurassic Park came out, when my brother and I saw the trailer for Jurassic Park, we were both, I could hear our own little kid voices going, Deinonychus! Oh, they're making a Deinonychus! Oh my god! And it's Deinonychus, I guess, but we didn't know how to pronounce all these names, but Deinonychus was what we thought it was called. And this was like our favorite dino, and just seeing this come to life right over here. I love the Raptors for sure, but like this is going to be larger than the Raptor series, right? So it's going to be a little bit bigger.
As far as scale goes, they are bigger than the Velociraptors. But the first Velociraptor that we did was in 1/6 scale, and this is 1/18 scale. So actually, the first one was bigger, as far as our scale is concerned. If I were to do this at 1/6 scale, it would definitely be bigger than the older Raptors. But this one we haven't gotten to it because it doesn't really share parts with the other Raptors that we've been doing. It's bigger than a Velociraptor but smaller than a Utahraptor, so it doesn't it's somewhere in between. So we wanted to make sure that we got the scale right and got the proportions right and everything. So it doesn't at the moment share parts with anything.
Nice, all brand new right there. I love this color scheme too, and blue's my favorite color. Seeing the brown, oranges, and blues. Did anything in particular inspire this color scheme?
Yes, it was an interesting process, and this is part of the fun of designing. Is initially my designer Ross, he was playing around with the idea of putting armor on the little tiny raptors, and he had kind of superimposed it onto a blue raptor, and then our concept artist Rafe, he was doing a concept art piece for the Desert Clan, and he saw that image and he put blue wings on his version. So then that got associated with the Desert Clan. And then I'm like, well, how do we fit that into the figure without making it all blue? Because we already have a blue raptor. So I found this bird that is called the blue-winged Minla, and I just based the whole thing on that because it fit in with everything that we'd already shown. And
Wow.
and it's just like, it's a very organic process. We're just kind of bouncing off of each other, and eventually we end up on something that looks really cool. So it's a lot of fun.
Wow. Yeah. No, I love it. That's great. I love how you continuously incorporate Mother Nature into this whole thing. It's like
It's
consistently incorporating that into the product,
it's
one way or another.
yeah, it's definitely our biggest inspiration. I mean, it's nature first as far as our designs go, for sure.
This almost reminds me of the home movies I used to make when I was a kid, where my name would be in the credits, like in every category.
I was trying
This
to
is
be
a project.
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't really get to sculpt anything this time though. So
Oh,
uh,
really? Oh,
yeah,
wow! You didn't do
yeah.
any sculpting? That's
I
wild.
was sculpting. I spent all my time sculpting the Stegosaurus, and I ended up not doing it for this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, technically, I didn't work on the sculpts for this series. Yeah, it's weird how that works out because there's so many other things that need to be done now as far as like art directing and designing and
Oh,
you
yeah.
know just running everything. I have been painting a lot more though. I will say I've been painting a lot more figures lately. So that's
Oh,
something.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, like, that's one thing that, like, from my own experience doing this, like, I don't sculpt at all. I haven't sculpted any of my stuff, and it's like people ask, "Well, you didn't sculpt it, then what did you do?" I'm like, "Oh, come on, man! There's so much other stuff that has to be done. Like, there's just so much, especially if you want things to look a certain way,
Yep.
right? Like, you got to be on top of it because
Exactly.
it lands on you. If something goes wrong, whose fault is it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think back to when I was working at NECA, and I would basically just go in and sculpt all day, and I'd have my reference, and I didn't realize how easy it was, because now it's like, you're deciding everything now. You have to stay on top of everything, and you have to make sure everything looks the way you want it to look, and there's a lot of tweaking in Photoshop, and you got to send it back over, say, hey, make it look like this. It's like
Yeah.
nothing is a set in stone until you say it's set in stone. Whereas, like, if you're working at a company and you have specific reference, you're basically following. And there's a challenge to that as well, but
Right.
it's like one thing to do as compared to a bunch of other things that need to be done to get to the final product. So yeah, it's the sculpting is extremely important for sure, but there's a ton of other stuff that goes into it.
Right. Would you say was it did you have, like, would you say you're very hands-on with your sculptors, or would you, okay, so yeah, you like really get in there and
Oh yeah, because I mean I understand the process very well, obviously, and I kind of understand what helps them. So I try to be as clear as I can, and like a lot of times I will go in and like move stuff around in Photoshop on the photos and like, hey, move this, change this, stuff like that, and it usually works out pretty well. And I've mostly worked with a lot of people that I already knew, which also helps a lot too. So
oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, and sculptors and artists are like very visual. Like, you could write it in an email, but if you
yeah,
quickly, if I have some Photoshop skills myself, so it's like that's what I used a lot with my sculptor, and I would just be like, you know what, I want this, and you could just shave off, add on, shift
yeah,
around, and then send that to them. It's like boom, they get it. It registers right away.
yeah,
But
yeah.
if you're sitting there typing, if the left shoulder could be lifted up just by, I don't know, a quarter of an inch, it's like, come
Yeah.
on.
I don't like to
It's
do it that way. I think that's a
yeah,
little too vague. We're going to have different ideas of what that means. So yeah, it's better to have a visual for sure.
yeah. Just, by the way, just to throw it out there, because I know we're here talking about Cyberzoic, but I had to bring this up also, is my wife actually photoshopped the butts on my figures
Oh
because,
yeah.
yeah, I wanted them to be, I was like, hey, look, I'm not a man butt lover. My wife is, and, I I hope to make female figures, so I want them to be up to my specifications.
Right,
So
right.
I want to make sure that the male butts were up to her specifications to not let anybody down.
Exactly.
So luckily my wife has some Photoshop skills too. So she photoshopped the butts and we sent it to the sculptor, and it was, okay, here we go. So
Yeah.
luckily they don't stand out too bad, right? It's not like it's like he's walking around with a huge badunk or anything, but it's not like it was a lot more flat the first time around. So she was like, no, we need more junk in the trunk. I was like, okay.
It always helps to get more people looking at stuff, because you're probably going to be blind to a certain portion of it because you look at it so much. So yeah, it's always good to have somebody else involved at some point.
Right. Yes. Yeah. You can get kind of bogged down, and yeah, you could lose sight of some details here and there.
Absolutely.
Something. This is a question from Joey. Something I'd point out. Do you feel like the mixed dinosaur variety we see in the Cyberzoic line is the better idea in the long run compared to the way you did it in the previous three Beasts of the Mesozoic series?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that the family plan that I was doing, like as far as like doing it by family, I had the raptors, and I had the ceratopsians, and I had the tyrannosaurs. I don't think there was anywhere else to go from there unless
No.
there's a lot more families. We could have done stegosaurs. We could have done
sauropods, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Even the Carcharodontosaurs, which are like the allosaurs and the Giganotosaurus, all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we could have kept going with. I just don't think that any of it would have been as big as the Tyrannosaur line. Plus, there's also, like, on the downside of doing those types of things, there's always a few more obscure ones that people kind of pass on because they're not known or they're not popular. And luckily, I've been able to do pretty well with more of the obscure species, but there's usually at least a few that are just kind of okay as far as sales go. So now that we're at the point where we can basically invest a little bit more in tooling, I wanted to go more towards the more popular stuff that a lot of people have been asking for. So now that's why we have a Stegosaurus on the way. That's why we're doing the Allosaurus. That's why we have the Pachycephalosaurus, and that also open up room for other stuff that a lot of people have been asking for, like eventually Spinosaurus or Pterosaurs and things like that. So yeah, there's just when it comes to nature, there's an endless number of animals that I think would do well, and it's a bit overwhelming sometimes thinking about how much I want to do. So I have to kind of reel it in every once in a while and just think, okay, yeah, we gotta be realistic about what we can do within a certain period of time. So
right. I would have assumed that, like, yeah, you would have gone towards, like, because it went bigger with the Tyrannosaurus, so I thought like sauropods would have been like the next big one, but it's like,
yeah,
I guess they're not as sexy as like the T-Rex. Like the T-Rex is kind of a different thing. But I mean, I'm not complaining at all. I think this direction is awesome too. Like, I grew up with Dino Riders, so it's like you're talking, you know what I mean? Like that's just like right in my direction right there. And they transform on top of that. The Dino Riders armor didn't transform. Not that I remember. I don't remember it transforming at all. It was just like saddles and helmets that went on top of the dinos. Like,
right.
you didn't. And yeah, so I think that's just absolutely, like, you're hitting hitting two geek spots at once. So which is really cool.
I'm a big fan of both Transformers and Dino Riders, and then there's a little bit of Zoids thrown in there too. It's hitting on a lot of stuff that I'm interested in, and even with the Fire Clan, you're going to see some inspirations from Masters of the Universe here and there, like subtly, but yeah, I mean, it's all kind of there. I mean, as far as inspirations go, like you'll see elements from different old toy lines in there, and I'm trying to bring it all together with one cohesive story.
Sweet. I'm just to bring it up again, though. I am personally rooting for the sauropods. I would like to see big.
Yeah, I want to do them too. I'm all for it. It's a harder sell because they're so big.
Yeah.
I do have a 1/35th scale, which is like that T-Rex that you have. That's 1/35th. So that scale I have in place so I can eventually get to the sauropod stuff.
Gotcha.
Because at 1/18 scale, they start getting really big. I mean, you've seen some of the stuff that Jurassic World has out, and it's
Right.
like huge. And they can afford to do that because they're Mattel. But
And they're hollow too. Like all those are hollow.
yeah, they're directed a little more towards a lower age group, really. But
Mhm.
if I did it, it would be like a big expensive thing, and I wouldn't be able to do like a whole family of them. I'd have to just pick and choose like the more popular species to do. So that's something that I think we still have to work towards, but it's definitely something that I want to do.
Gotcha. A really good question Joey had also was, are there any interests in doing specimen specific variants of dinos in the future, like Sue or Stan variant versions?
I don't have that as an interest right now because I feel like it's a little too limiting as far as
Mhm.
like when I think about what we haven't done. Uh, like I feel like people would probably rather have like a Spinosaurus instead of a Sioux. If it came down to it.
Mhm.
So once we get further established with a variety, then maybe we can start exploring ideas like that. But I think we're probably a little ways away from that.
Yeah, I'm sure he's probably imagining it being like an alternate head kind of thing where you would keep your
No,
notes,
no, I
or
think Sue has a very specific anatomy. You probably need a
the whole dinosaur would have to change.
very bulky body, and like it's it's kind of iconic, really. So if you don't get it right, people will know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right on. Awesome. Hey, well, yeah, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it right.
yeah, that's
um, you announced Beast of the Cenozoic coming in the future. Any interest in doing animals? Well, you already touched on this, but in doing animals from before the time of dinosaurs, or
oh,
you mentioned more mammals, but yeah, animals like Dimetrodon,
yeah.
uh, Dunkleosteus. I'm not familiar with
Obvious.
that dino.
Yeah. I'm all about all that. Yeah, Dimetrodon is one of my favorite all-time animals, and I actually did a model kit a while back for Dimetrodon, so I do have some experience with that one. Yeah, it's just a matter. Again, it's just a matter of working it in somewhere. We still haven't officially launched Beast of the Cenozoic.
Mm.
We have some sculpts for it. We just we have to fit it in somewhere. So once we get that going, then maybe we can start looking at some eras that are pre-dinosaur.
For those who don't know, Dimetrodon's like our closest relative in this whole thing. Like that's us. That's our cousin over
Yeah,
there is Dimetrodon. I think it's like the bone right over here with the holes in the head or
yeah,
something.
yeah. That was around the time when the reptiles started splitting into mammals. Yeah. It's really one of the coolest animals that we found so far. Yeah.
Right, and that huge fin on the back. It's like
Yeah.
it comes with a built-in solar panel, right? Like,
Yeah.
or is that to cool off? I don't really know if that was
Been
like
a lot of debate about that, but that was included in the Dino Riders toy line as well, even though technically it wasn't a dinosaur.
right. Awesome. And then yeah, so there's a friend of yours is dying to see the finished sculpt of the Acrocanthosaurus.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean, well, I've seen it, but
Gotta
that's
look that one up.
that's my favorite dinosaur. So I'm really looking forward to doing it. That was another thing that got cut from this Kickstarter. I was planning to have it. It was going to have transforming armor, and the armor transformed into a Stegosaurus.
Oh, what? Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty elaborate, and I feel like that should be in part two because we have so much for this one. So basically the Acrocanthosaurus is going to be kind of the Fire Clan mascot, while next time we're gonna bring back the T Rex next time and have them kind of face off.
Jeez.
But yeah,
Nice.
see, that's one of those big meat eaters that I don't think the Jurassic franchise has really touched on yet, and it's been my favorite for a long time. It's that skeleton is just insane. It's really cool.
Yeah, they should have brought this in instead of the Giganotosaurus. Is it the
They're,
Gigo?
they're actually related. The Giganotosaurus, or however they pronounce it, it's like a, relative of the Acrocanthosaurus, but it is bigger. So they're probably just trying to go bigger. But
Okay, so this is a little bit smaller then, because I think
a little bit smaller, but it has that really cool high back, which I think is very distinctive. You don't see that too much.
very Spinosaurus kind of looking.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not quite a sail. Like it's not really a fin, but it's like they're just high vertebrae. But yeah, it's very distinctive, and it's a really cool looking animal.
I did not know about this dinosaur.
I've sculpted it twice now, and our our most recent version was sculpted by Jake, who is is really into the dinosaur stuff. But
Nice.
yeah, we have a great sculpt lined up for it. We just couldn't fit it in yet, so that's
Awesome.
where we're at. Yeah.
Wow. All right. So one thing I've always kind of curious, and it's kind of a silly question. Oh man, and one thing I would like to see you do is an ankylosaurus. Would be really cool to
Oh
see.
yeah,
Also,
yeah. I really want to get to those as well. And for Cyberzoic 2, we have some related animals to the ankylosaurs. We have the Edmontonia and the what was the other one?
a Denversaurus.
No, but they're all similar.
Yeah.
The other one is I'm drawing a blank for some reason. But anyway, there's two Solitosaurs which are closely related to ankylosaurs, and so we have those planned for part 2, and then once we have those out, we'll probably get more into the ankylosaurs. But there's so many really cool families that it just takes so much time to do all this, and we have to kind of pace ourselves properly.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Again, it's like you could. The whole world is there for you to take it, but you only have that shelf space, right?
Well, yeah, it's not even about shelf space, really. It's about like how much is well, I guess for the fans at some point it becomes about shelf space, but we don't want to overcommit on what we're trying to do. Like we need to give enough attention to each project to make sure it goes well.
I mean more like peg space is what I'm thinking of, like walking into a Target and there's figures on the shelf, like there's peg space more than not that shelf, the retail store shelf. I mean,
I'm not really at the point of worrying about retail space just yet.
No, but like even on your own platform, it's like you can only put so much out there, right? Like what you're saying, it's like you want parks to get the attention they deserve.
Definitely, yeah. I don't want it to feel like. I mean, all credit to Hasbro for whatever that they want to do, but I feel like there's too many Marvel Legends nowadays, and I just there was a time when I would get excited to see the latest Marvel Legends, and now and it's like this with the McFarlane Batman figures too. It's just like, oh, okay, and I totally forget because that's like every day there's something new. Right. But I do think there's something to be said to give each figure its own space to be able to be appreciated, and keep the waves from being too big, so that you can kind of appreciate what they are, and instead of kind of chasing the next one all the time. So that also kind of factors into it as well, because I think everything that we're doing is deserving of a lot of attention because we put so much into each one. So we don't want to overshadow everything by doing too much at once. So
right, which is a smart move. I mean, I think that was like my first blunder, like trying the Kickstarter the first time. I just put it all out there, see what you can get, go for it. And it's it doesn't work that way. You gotta inch it up in there and everything. And so awesome, man. Is there anything else you wanted to say about your Kickstarter, or anything else you wanted to mention? I wanted to ask you a couple of things outside of your Kickstarter, but I wanted to give you the floor to bring anything up that you wanted to mention to the viewers out there that I didn't touch on already.
No, I think we touched on it pretty well. We touched on the main figures. I do want to mention that there is a Kickstarter exclusive that's directly based on the Dino Riders toy line.
Ooh.
Which is if you scroll back up, it's a repaint of the Smilodon. Yeah, there it is, right there. Yeah.
Here.
You can scroll up to see a bigger picture. Right there. And if you click on that picture, it'll take you to the gallery, or it should anyway.
Oh, wow. Hold on. I have to share a different screen.
But that's something that we're offering. That's the only one that's offered as a full set and not as individual items, because we want to kind of mimic the old Dino Riders feel, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm also getting Ezra Tucker back to do the artwork for it. So he's doing original artwork for this as well, and he's really into saber-tooth tigers, so it's going to be really cool to see what he does.
Have you worked on, like, human action figures before, or is this your first time going into figures like that? I'm sure you have in the past.
I've probably worked on more humans than I have animals, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, no way.
It's just that I'm so interested in doing the animals because there's such a small area for it in the toy industry, and that's one of the things I always wanted to bring to it. Is like, well, we have tons of humans, but we don't really pay a lot of attention to the animal figures, and I feel like to me the animals have tons of diversity of design and ideas, and I felt like the industry as a whole would benefit by having more of a presence for animals. So I've always had an interest in animal anatomy and animal design and things like that. And even when I was working at the other companies, I would always try to get my hands on anything related to creatures. So I have worked on a fair share of humans, and that's where I'm mostly trained, is human anatomy. But whenever I can deviate from that, I'm always happy to, because animals are really challenging, especially with all the different diversity of shapes and biology and everything. So
Right. So what could you say about, like, when applying the armor to the figures themselves? Like, what is going to prevent from any paint rub? Like do you have like a softer material on the inside, or like what kind of like preventative measures like would you have from any kind of possible paint rubbing from applying those accessories on there?
that's something we'll have to work with once we have samples. But usually the paint's pretty durable unless it's on like the disc of a joint or something. Like, then it's not going to stick,
Right.
obviously. But that's not usually an issue. As far as it affecting the paint on the figure, that's just something that we'll have to kind of figure out as we go. The armor, I'm assuming the armor will end up being slightly soft and pliable, because you're going to want it to like kind of bend around the figure and all that. So I don't see it being an issue, because you're not going to have a hard surface against a hard surface. So
Gotcha.
it should be okay.
Right on. So yeah, it's probably like PVC to ABS seems to be like the safe route to go, right? Like that.
It's probably all going to be PVC most likely. It's just that we can do different diameters of PVC. So
God.
Like the body might be like 80 or 90 diameter, which is pretty hard. You can have the armor at like a 70, so that it's more flexible. So I mean, there's stuff like that we'll have to play around with and kind of see what works, but we'll have to have the tooling done before we can do any of that.
Right. So that's further down the line in the development process.
Right? Yeah, I don't see it being a big concern. I think that it's something we'll have to pay attention to and get right, and then we'll just keep doing it that way, however that is.
Nice. All right. I really like how both of these Smilodons look, man. That's kind of hard to like. I really like both of those schemes a lot. That's hard to pick one. If you're just picking one, that's tough. I really like those both a lot.
The exclusive one is only going to be available for the Kickstarter. So that, I mean, all the other ones will eventually be regularly sold. But yeah, this one we're doing a very short run, and just for people that are backing. So
yeah, you may be talking me into getting a second item here in your Kickstarter. Damn it, pushing me. All right. So one thing I wanted to ask you, we got just a couple minutes left, and then we got to run.
Sure.
I wanted to ask, like, what you thought of, because you mentioned Marvel Legends a second ago. I'm wondering if you actually still collect Marvel Legends. I'm kind of curious to know what you think about like what's going on with like HasLab and bigger companies like getting involved in this crowdfunding space, and like what your take on that is. Because you know for me, at first it didn't make sense to me, but now, after a little bit of time, I understand that you know they're lowering their risk and everything. But initially, Kickstarters always kind of came off to me as kind of like the artists kind of going rogue, the artists from the companies I'm familiar with
Hmm.
kind of going rogue and just doing their thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting to see like the big corporations kind of following that that play. But I get why they do it, and to me it makes sense. And I was just kind of interested in what your thoughts on that was, you know what I mean? And in the industry in general, like
Yeah. No, I think it's good for them to be doing the crowdfunding. I think it's good for the fans because they're going to get stuff that they wouldn't normally get. There's certain items that can only be basically sold direct to consumer. Because these big companies, they rely so heavily on their distribution, and if Target and Walmart don't want to carry, say, your Unicron figure because it's too big and too expensive, it's not
right.
getting made. So you bring it to the fans and say, hey, you guys basically have to step in for the distributors at this point, and let us know if you want this bad enough, and we'll make it. So I think the model makes sense. It totally makes sense. I think it's a great opportunity to get some really cool stuff that we wouldn't normally get. Um, I think there have been a few missteps with a few of them, like where maybe they're not offering enough value up front. But that's not the fault of the model or the concept. That's just the fault of whoever's managing that particular thing. Um, but I think it's a very good thing. I think they should keep it going. And there's a lot of them that have really provided a lot of value where we would not have gotten anything. So yeah, I'm all for it. I don't back a lot of them. I think I've only backed like one or two so far, but that's mostly because I only have so much space.
Did you
But
back Unicron? Did you back Unicron?
it's way
Oh,
too
you're not.
way,
Oh,
way too big for me. I have the Armada Unicron right back here.
uh-huh.
That's all I need. so
Oh,
so I'm good with him, but I think it's great that they made it, and
yeah. I love
for the
it.
fans who have the space, I think that's awesome. I have one really big item, and that's Snake Mountain from
Oh,
Super 7. That was the one big thing that I made a space for, and
nice.
that's pretty much it. but
Gotcha.
but I think it's great. I mean, if as long as they can keep that going, good for them. I think that's cool. So
Awesome. Nice.
yeah,
And then I had to ask you, because this is like my own creative endeavor. We had to talk about Street Humans just really quick
of
before you
course,
go.
yeah,
I want to know what you thought about the Street Humans, and your general take, and which alien head you like more. So I've been getting a lot of feedback on the alien heads, and yeah. So I did a stream with Bobby Valla, and I'm kind of curious to know what your take is on YouTubers like myself, Unparalleled Universe, and I think Foosh Toys. They that one's a little bit different because it's not just Robo. There's a group of guys behind that one. But what do you think of like content creators having the damn nerve trying to step into your territory?
it's not
Like,
my territory, man. It's the fans' territory. I mean, you're more than welcome. And I'm doing this because I'm a fan. I'm not doing this because I found an easy way to make money. This is a very difficult way to make money. But
yeah.
well,
Yeah. Oh my god.
it is there are a lot of easier ways. So
Yeah.
I,
Sorry.
I don't think you should ever see this as being, a place where you're not supposed to be, or any content creator. I think that you've contributed greatly to this industry in your own way, and you have, I think you have everything you need to do what you're doing. Um, yeah, I think it's really just about having a passion for the industry, wanting to help it be better, and just contribute however you can. And if that means you have an idea for a toy line, that's amazing. Because honestly, we need more independence right now. More and It's because the larger companies have become so big. I mean, how many Spider-Man do we need? How many Wolverines do we need? How many Batmans do we need? Really, how many Ninja Turtles do we need? And I love all that stuff, but I don't just want that. I want new stuff too. so
Yeah.
so and that's where you and I come in. We're like, oh, here's a new idea. Let's see what people think of it. Because we want to keep this pop culture going. We don't want this like fizzle out in 10 or 20 years because we had 50 versions of Transformers or whatever. So,
Right.
just it needs an injection of creativity every once in a while to keep it going. So I think that's where us independents come in. That's whether it's a big hit or just affects a few people, it's still contributing to something positive. So
Right. Awesome. I feel the same way. I feel like when you have more creative people in the sphere of this market, like I think it helps elevate it more than anything.
absolutely, yeah.
So I have to ask you, like, are you more a team Alago or are you more team Eon? Have
I, I have to go with the Lago. I really like the bat look a lot.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Oh,
I'm all about it.
thank you.
There was actually reminds me there was a dragon that I worked on for McFarlane back in the day that I kind of based on a bat a little bit, and
Oh.
it actually had four eyes. Yeah.
Oh, no way.
So yeah. So like we're thinking along the same lines there. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
I thought it was a really
Dang.
cool looking thing. So yeah.
Awesome. Oh, now I got to find that. I honestly don't remember seeing that, but
It's
I mean,
it's very obscure. It's like I honestly don't even remember what it was called, but it was probably like Series 7, maybe, or something like that. It was kind of hanging upside down. Its tail was curled around this tree, and its head was kind of turned around, but it had like bat wings. It was basically hanging upside down because it was like a bat. And I can't remember. I can't remember what it was called though. But I remember designing that head, and I put the four eyes in it, even though it wasn't really supposed to have four eyes. And there was a day when Todd was there because he didn't come over very much, but Todd was there and he came by and he liked it. So I guess we're doing this. So
wow.
yeah,
Well, we got 6 eyes, Dave. All
Steven,
right, we got we got
I
we
like it. It's cool.
yeah, we've upped you by 2 more eyes right over here. But yeah, this is I have a weird obsession with bats. I really love bats. I think they're just incredible. I think it's like the evolution of the creatures themselves just absolutely amazes me that they exist. Hands into wings.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's really
Evolved jugular so that you could hang upside down all day. Like,
yeah.
like that's wild to me.
And that's something I want to get to at some point. I want to do modern day animals. I want to do
Ooh.
the bats and the wolves and the elephants and all. I mean, there's so much that sharks, whales. I mean, it's all on the table as far as I'm concerned. It's just a matter of getting to it.
If you made a life-size, fully articulated bat, I would lose it. That would be so sick.
Could do that
Because they can make them really small too. They wouldn't even be that big.
Yeah.
Oh man, that'd be incredible. Well, shoot, man. Hey, I'm gonna let you go. I really appreciate you coming on, and it's a pleasure having you. Yeah, of course. And yeah, I just hope that your career just continues launching to the moon the way it has, right? Like in comparison to do you notice from the outside looking in, it looks like each of your Kickstarters just are more robust as you go every time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to build like each time I do one, I have that series to draw upon as far as like like having profits for the store. So like while I'm selling the Tyrannosaur series, basically, I'm using that to fund the development of the Cyberzoic. So that's why they kind of scale upwards. Where like the Raptors, I was just starting with like hardly any money at all, and then by the time I got to Ceratopsians, I had a little bit of money. And I could make bigger things and more elaborate things. And then by the time I got to the Tyrannosaurs, I had that Raptor money and the Ceratopsian money, so I could do that. And now I have like this whole thing that I'm trying to do. So basically, the thing I like spending money on is making more toys. So
yeah,
that's kind of what I've been doing, and just seeing how far it can go, because it's been kind of a dream of mine to pitch an original IP ever since high school. My high school experience was mostly Star Wars and video games. So,
Nice. So you're Mr. Popular. You had like when you went to lunch, you sit at a table full of friends, and then there'd be like hot chicks would just come around and rub your neck, and then all the jocks would come up to you, be like, "Man, I wish I was as cool as you, Dave. Can I be your friend? There's a party this weekend. You want to come?" And you're like, "Sure, I'll bring the beer." And like that was totally you, right?
Yeah, that was me. Yeah. No, I used to take my lunch to the art room and eat in the art room. So
I used to eat by myself in the computer lab because we had just gotten internet when I was in high school. So I was
nice.
Yeah. So I was like the dork of the dorks. That's how I saw myself. I was like, I can't hang out with the magic guys. Can't hang out, because I wasn't smart enough to follow magic.
Right. Yeah.
I couldn't hang out with the nerds because I wasn't smart enough to be, I don't know. They're a level of nerdy that I was just kind of a little beyond me.
Yeah.
And then, so I would just kind of like hang out by myself a lot of the time, write scripts for, silly fantasy movies that,
Well, I think we would have been friends because I kind of fell into that same area. I used to be in the art room as much as possible. I just that was just kind of my sanctuary, and I was just trying to draw something or paint something. And the only time I really used the internet in high school was when I was looking up reference to build a Boba Fett life-size suit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was like my first experience. Yeah, I was trying to find good pictures.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so that's actually how I made friends, was seeing people doing artistic things.
Yeah.
And just be like, "Whoa, that's sick! Like, how did you draw that?" Like, I would tag a lot. So I probably would have seen you doing something and be like, "Whoa, you made a Boba Fett! How did you do that? Like, how do you?"
Absolutely. Yeah. I have no regrets. I have no. It was fine.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason. So it's like everyone has their own path and stuff. So I hope your path continues to go up and onward, man. Really happy for all your success, and I'm really excited seeing all these products come into fruition the way you have, and I can't wait to see more from you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's
all right.
We'll both just keep it going. Good luck to you and your Kickstarter and everything you're trying to do, and just keep making good content, and just keep the love going. That's really what it's all about. So
Yep, it's a community, like you said. Like, this is the community space. I love how you said that. That's great. All right, Dave. Well, if you guys haven't backed the Cyberzoic Kickstarter, the link is in the description below. If you haven't backed Street Humans, check it out. Link is in the description below, of course. And stay tuned for more coming to the channel, and keep an eye out on that Cyberzoic Kickstarter, because it seems like little things keep trickling in here and there. So
I got plenty of things planned. I want to put it all at once.
All right. I will stay posted, and thanks so much, Dave. And we will catch you guys next time. Catch you later.
See ya.
Peace.